Madam Chair, I appreciate all the work that the county staff has done running this Street Saver program, and one of the reasons I think scenario 5 may be better, perhaps altered a little bit by the 50-50 split. But the county's spending a lot of time and money using a fact-based computer software that is hopefully unbiased and hopefully non-political, and it's based on what's needed, and it's fact-based, and we spent the money on the software, and I'm sure staff has spent countless hundreds of hours working these different scenarios, that we ought to try to lean toward a fact-based decision on how we allocate the funding, and not just say we're going to give 20% to each district regardless of the conditions of the roads.
Any reaction or thoughts to Albert's comments?
Yeah, I would just ask if Mr. Bernal or one of the members of the subcommittee could kind of explain the thinking on behalf of the subcommittee that led to the idea of equal split of the money.
Rich, can you put up scenario 5? Or do you have the comparison in this, the one that we distributed 5 and 6 together? Okay.
Mr. Bernal, I can point it.
Okay. Yeah. Let me just direct you to that large sheet that has both scenarios 5 and 6. And we actually did have some discussion about scenario 5 and the outcomes of applying that approach. And if you look just at the total miles treated in each district, I think you'll see the vast range that we end up with under scenario 5. District 1 gets 114.5 miles, District 2 27.6, District 3 192.1, District 4 124.4, and District 5 34.3. Under scenario 6, you get virtually the same mileage in each district. And again, I think it has to do with the fact that we're unfortunately not really addressing the system-wide in any comprehensive manner with this $90 million or $15 million the first year. So it's perhaps a way of saying we know all 5 districts are not in good shape. And so let's at least initially talk about investing equally in all 5 districts. Over time, perhaps if there's more resources available and we can get at some of those districts that have more mileage, I think that would be appropriate.
Yeah, that's kind of what we talked about last year when we said, eventually we would come to a point when we thought we would have enough money to actually make a dent in this, that we would come to a point when some of the urban districts, let's say, that had money from other sources would not have any of the failed streets, and to give them money for to fix things that they didn't need fixed didn't make sense, so we're going to move them around from year to year. I think for the first year this makes sense to split it evenly, and maybe for the first couple of years, 3 years, 4 years, but there is a point at which there will be haves and have-nots, and I think we should just be aware that although we recommend it this year, we should look at it each year.
Madam Chair, I think splitting it like the subcommittee recommends, at least for the first year, politically is the best solution. Sometimes engineering solutions don't always satisfy the constituents. And what we did in our district, as you remember, we split the money we got last year, a third, and it seemed to satisfy more people politically than if we'd done an engineering model.
To be fair to the engineering model, one of the things that, as we're looking at this scenario 5 and scenario 6 on that long page, we are not comparing apples to apples. And that was why we had the recommendation last time of, let's at least look at scenario 5 the exact same way we looked at scenario 6, with the exception that it would not be split according to the Board of Supervisors district. And we would do the 50% local and 50% arterial and collector breakout so that we could compare apples to apples. So it's hard to get a sense if you don't have the exact same data for each scenario of what the difference is going to be for that, because we do want to put money into local roads. That is, I think everybody on the subcommittee and everybody on this committee, we all live somewhere and we all bump around when we go home. So it's not a question as to what our priorities are there. It's really a question as to looking at the best allocation of the funding with this great model and the people that are bringing all these different scenarios to us.